Good evening and welcome back to The Early Set. The Early Set is a talk show dedicated to the artists who make live jazz and more happen in New York City and beyond. I'm your host, Gabrielle Stravelli. I'm a vocalist and songwriter, and you can find out everything you ever wanted to know about me on my website, which is GabrielleStravelli.com. On Facebook, some of you may be joining us from Facebook right now. I am at Gabrielle Stravelli Music on Facebook. If you are watching from Facebook, we hope that you will follow Gabrielle Stravelli Music and also share this episode so that other people will be privy to this great conversation we're going to have tonight and also know about upcoming episodes of The Early Set. So that's us on Facebook. You can also follow me on YouTube. This show is also broadcast on my YouTube channel, which is also Gabrielle Stravelli Music on YouTube. And if you're there on YouTube, click below, won't you? And subscribe. And again, I think there's that little bell icon that you can click, and you'll get reminders about upcoming episodes of The Early Set. And also, I'm posting new content all the time. So do subscribe there. If you live in New York City, you can hear me play live every Saturday night. I'm at the West Bank Cafe near Times Square, 42nd and 9th. And you can keep up with sort of the most up-to-date info coming from the West Bank on their Facebook page, which is at West Bank Cafe. It's a really great vibe. I have to say, I love playing there. The food is legit, just fantastic food, really good wine, and they're also just very careful, and they're taking all the precautions to ensure the safety of the musicians, of people dining there, and the staff. So we hope that if you're in New York, you will come out some Saturday night and support a local restaurant and hear some live music. If you're not in New York City, the last thing I'll share with you is that I recently taped a live performance at Birdland for their Radio Free Birdland series. This great series that they are releasing, I think, twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. They're doing a 3-camera shoot, filming people live in the theater. There's no audience, but it's all like professional camera work and sound. It looks really beautiful, and it's kind of the closest we can all get to gathering in a club right now. But that is available online. My set premiered last Tuesday and is now available on demand through November 20th. You can get a ticket for that if you're interested at events.broadwayworld.com. Broadway World is sort of presenting in partnership with Birdland. And I hope that you'll check that out. I'm really delighted with how it turned out. I'm playing with pianist Michael Kanan and bassist Pat O'Leary, so check that out. My guest today will be the drummer, arranger, a composer, and educator, SHERRIE MARICLE. But before I welcome her, just going to give a quick shout out to 2 things I've been enjoying and that I want to make you all aware of. I think you'll enjoy them too. The first thing I want to shout out is a new single by a friend of mine, a musician I love, vocalist and trumpeter, Taylor Kelly. I've known Taylor since she was kind of young, I guess, a teenager. She's still young. Just not quite as young. She studied music at the prestigious Berklee School of Music, and her own compositions are a blend of jazz, soul, and pop. She leads her own 8-piece band, so a lot of her music has like great hot horn lines in it. But she's also just like a super modern lady who has lots of different influences in her music, and she just released a new single called I Am. Let's hear a little bit of that right now.
I need to get away. Tell me to go away. I can't do it on my own. I need to clear my head. Wake up in my own bed, and I feel so alone. Learn
like it. I think I recommend you check out the whole track because the chorus, the song is called I Am, and it's really a song about like that I am everything that I need. It's all within me. So Taylor is on Facebook at Taylor Kelly Jams. And her new single is available on all the platforms, Apple Music and Spotify. Everywhere you like to get your music, you will find Taylor Kelly's new single, I Am. So check that out. Just want to stop for a moment and say hi, Marianne, Todd, and Maury, and Sally. Hi, thank you so much for watching. Glad you guys are joining us. The other thing I want to shout out quickly before Sherrie comes on is an upcoming live stream concert by a really wonderful vocalist. So next Thursday, November 5th. Wow, it's going to be November in a hot second. Yikes. Next Thursday, November 5th at 8 p.m. Eastern, the vocalist Tessa Suta, who is just the best. She's just a beautiful, beautiful singer. She has a beautiful sound. She also writes beautiful lyrics to existing melodies. She writes her own tunes, which are really great. She's adept at singing standards, singing modern arrangements of stuff. I adore her singing. And she's doing a live stream concert next Thursday for Brooklyn's Soapbox Gallery. Soapbox is this really wonderful, intimate space in Brooklyn, and they've been filming live streams from that space. She's going to be in duo with the great bassist Yasushi Nakamura, who is a regular in her band. So do check that out. And I believe it's a kind of pay what you are able to sort of thing. So you can find out more information about that, of course, on Tessa's website, but you can go to Facebook and go to the Soapbox Gallery page, which is just Soapbox Gallery on Facebook, and they'll be broadcasting the live stream there and giving you the information about where you can sort of send your donations that will support the Soapbox and also support Tessa and Yasushi. So I hope that you will check that out. We are gratefully accepting donations tonight via Venmo and PayPal. Right. And there are going to be links for those, the Venmo and PayPal throughout the evening in where you see that on the bottom of the screen now and in the comments as well. And we use these donations to pay for the platform we're broadcasting on. And also, Sherrie has chosen to donate a portion of the funds tonight to the awesome Animal Shelter, which is a wonderful organization in Pennsylvania providing shelter and medical care to animals in need. So, and they take care of the pets who are found. They do spay and neuter. They adopt out. So they're really just a wonderful organization. So we would love to give them a nice chunk of change tonight. So we thank you for whatever you are able to contribute. Born and raised in Buffalo, New York, jazz drummer Sherrie MARICLE is the leader of the Diva Jazz Orchestra, an all-female big band. She leads a quintet called Five Play with members of the Diva Orchestra, and she is also 1/3 of the 3D Jazz Trio. She plays with the New York Pops at Carnegie Hall, just casual Carnegie Hall. As one does. And she serves as musical director for Broadway star Maurice Hines. Among many, many accolades, she was awarded the 2014 Ovation Award for Best Musical Direction of Tappin' Through Life, starring Maurice Hines. And she received the 2009 Mary Lou Williams Kennedy Center Lifetime Achievement Award. I'm so thrilled that she is joining us tonight. Please help me welcome Sherrie MARICLE.
Hi, Gabrielle. Hi. How are you?
I'm so great, and I'm so happy you're here. So
Me too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go back a little bit to earlier in your career. I do want to ask you about Stanley K, but not quite yet. I wanted to ask about Slam Stewart. We have a little picture of him so people can see what Slam Stewart looked like. I was reading about you, and I guess maybe that name perked my ears up because I live with a bass player, so I I've heard tell of Slam Stewart, and I was curious to know if he was a mentor to you, and just like, he seems like he was such an outsized character in a lot of ways. So what was it like working with him?
Well, he was one of the genuine great gentlemen of jazz. And as you know, then innovative talent. He's the one that, as far as I know, began that technique of singing and playing at the same time.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize.
Well, as an actual, as a soloistic expression. I mean, I'm sure musicians have done that forever, those that can, but he actually started soloing and improvising, and he would sing everything one octave higher. He would scat sing everything he bowed, and all of his solos were arco. At least all of the very famous ones are. He was known for. And wow, I was so young when I played with him, and I grew up in a town called Endicott, New York, which is halfway between New York City and Buffalo, where I was born. And Slam lived there, and I got to play with him. I first became aware of it when I was in high school, but then in college, I went to college in Binghamton. I just started playing with him and having these opportunities and looking at him and jaw agape saying, but you played with Benny Goodman, but you played with Gene Krupa, you played with Teddy Wilson, you did this, the way you wrote that song. And as you're on the Smithsonian Collection of Classic Jazz, playing that great Burning Rhythm Changes with Don Bias, the tenor player. He was such a gentleman and so elegant and so swinging and so supportive in that best nurturing way. As he was a mentor, as somebody would, if he didn't like what you were doing, he wouldn't disparage or criticize. He would say, sometimes he would call me Sharon, which is my given name. Sharon, Miracle, try this. Don't do this with the bass drum. Do that, but very, very lovingly, and just with the intent to make the music better. And better, you always have to put in quotation marks because it depends who's listening and who's playing. But he was always like that. And I remember rehearsing Big Noise from Winnetka with him, me playing on a placemat on his dining room table, and both of us laughing hysterically because he couldn't whistle very well. And I could whistle, but I started laughing when he would laugh, and then I couldn't whistle either. So I have some old cassette tapes, which I need to convert, of the two of us doing that together.
Oh, wow.
Such a highlight of my life was playing on a Slam Stewart's G string. That's for sure.
That's so awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And please, I certainly would love to hear those tapes if you converted those to digital format. I think there'd be so many people who would so appreciate sort of getting to peek in on your time with him. Oh yeah. Yeah. I discovered, I was creeping on you on YouTube, getting ready for this, as I do for everybody who comes on. And I discovered that you have done some of these Jazz Academy videos for Lincoln Center.
Oh yeah.
I nerded out so hard. I was like so excited watching these videos and hearing you talk about these nitty-gritty aspects of practice techniques. And we're actually going to play, we're just going to roll a little clip of one of these videos. This was the video you did dealing with Triplet Independence. I just want to play a little bit so that people at home know what I'm referring to. So I'm going to ask Julie, my producer, to play a little bit of that now, and then we'll talk about it.
Okay.
And one final point about this is when I play, I'm going to demonstrate on this tom-tom. I use a very, very loose bounce stroke, and I think that makes the drum sound better. It also makes it easier to play when you're using the rebound of the head. So it's very much like a basketball bouncing, kind of like this. All of my strokes are that way. Complete bounce stroke versus this. I also know that helps create a better jazz feel, a looser jazz feel if that's what you're going for, which I always am, loose and relaxed. So here's a demonstration of that same thing, but I'm going to move my left hand around the tom-toms and snare drum. So that's going to go like this. I'll start the ride pattern first.
I love this so much. And I was just thinking while I watched it again, I was thinking, I wonder if I loved it in a way because I feel like the drums, in a way, much like the voice, are an instrument that people don't actually know a lot about the technical aspects of these our instruments. And they also assume that singing and I think playing drums are really just easy to do. In a lot of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think I was just so excited to really hear you talk about some really technical stuff. Something I loved that you mentioned in the video, this idea of creating a wide beat for the band to play with. For non-musicians who are listening in, and also just I think I've found that like with developing singers who haven't spent a lot of time focusing on rhythm, this idea that the beat is actually up for interpretation in some ways, or that people feel it in different ways. Since you are a drummer, I was hoping you could maybe elaborate on that and talk a little bit about your approach to the beat.
Sure. And first of all, your point about drums and voice, I think part of the reason is because they are the oldest expression, artistic expression, because we all can hit something and make a sound. To be a percussionist, if you hit something, scrape something, or shake something, it's in the percussion family, and then we all have a voice. So it's very integral to every single culture on earth. So yes, sometimes it's hard because it could be so common. We all can do those things, but the technical aspect, endless study. Earlier before the show, we were talking a little bit about the YouTube rabbit holes, or I call them black holes, because you start researching something, and endless videos on technique on drum. I've seen drummers talk about their hand for 3 hours. What every finger can do individually to give you better chops or technique. But the idea of the wide beat, to me, it's a term I've heard a lot of my mentors and idols like Mel Lewis, Adam Nussbaum, Jeff Hamilton. We're all teachers of mine, are still teachers of mine, because I either through YouTube or in person. And that idea of your beat is, there's time, and there's the music moves through time as we create, but there are many ways to play, to lay back on the tempo. If the tempo is going along here, there are ways to make it to that feel really relaxed, depending on the phrasing, accents, and precisely where you put that in context of a strict metronome. And there's ways to make it feel a lot more intense too, by the way that you phrase. And for drummers, one of the things I was talking about, the triplet in that video you played, because that's the quintessential heartbeat or like the essence that all jazz phrasing is built off of, the triplet. Traditionally, but you can, that's obviously not the only rhythm. But if you start thinking in terms of, let's say, 16th notes, you can still play them very syncopated, but it's going to have more of an edge. So instead of here, let me do this for you.
Yay!
I'm thinking triplets. Now, if I bought 16th notes. So instead of triplet, 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 trip, it's like 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a dugga 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 dugga. It puts a different edge on the beat, and that's just one small layer, one small layer. I was recently checking out Dave Lieben. He's a great virtuosic saxophonist, talking about time, and it's just mind blowing. There's been so much study about this, but as one of my mentors, who I know we're going to talk about, the great Stanley Kay, used to say, this conversation would have driven him out of his mind. Because he would say, "Oh my God, behind the beat, ahead of the beat, at the beat." He goes, "Oh my God, if it feels good, just play. Who the hell cares?"
Well, and I guess there is that distinction too. There's time, and then there's feel. Yes,
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Totally correct. So we all want to keep time when we agree on what the tempo is, but then we can make it feel different. Like if you just with your instrument too, and with mine, we can have like 10 different drummers, 50 different drummers play the exact same thing. Even something as simple as like the beat from "We Will Rock You." Boom, boom, bap. It's going to feel different depending on who's playing it. Even something that simple, because we all like language. That's why we all have different voices when we speak, because we all interpret the words differently. You phrase them different than me, and it's very similar. But to it with time, I was listening to some things the other day too with Oscar Peterson and Ray Brown, but anyway with Miles Davis's group. I mean, name any iconic recording you love. Many times it's not metronomically perfect. And, so the idea, and I think most creative people would agree, and if they don't, I think perhaps maybe they're a little bit off. If a human being is creating music in a moment, in the moment and improvising, if you get a little bit excited, or you all get excited and wildly energized, chances are maybe it's going to go click to the right a few notches. Not the end of the universe. I mean, if it goes from, a slow ballad and suddenly it's like, crazy speedy, you can't play the tune anymore. But, there's the gray area of that. So
yes,
I'm sure many people would argue with me and, have their metronome clicking away and at all times. I mean, I practice everything with a metronome, but doesn't mean it stays precisely metronomic every time I play with other humans.
Right. And I don't think, you're not a robot. And if everybody's feeling it in one, I've heard people refer to that as like the tempo sometimes can settle.
Yeah.
It sort of goes where the whole group is feeling it and then can settle there. And that may be a slightly different tempo than where it started, but.
Yeah, and so we were with my trio. We recorded a song that we had been playing for a year, playing live, like around boo-doo-da, boo-doo-da, something like in here. But we didn't want to record it that slow for time reasons, for record time, length of the tune. So we're trying to play ba-doo-da, ba-doo-da. We really cracked it up for the recording. It was hard. We kept slowing down into the tempo. We had to really kick our own butts to keep it up. So they say.
You mentioned Mel Lewis, Adam Nussbaum. I love asking people about influences when I talk to great artists like you, who've got a lot of stuff figured out. Who did you listen to? And I imagine, not just drummers. There were other instrumentalists. I don't know if there were any vocalists. Who were the people you loved and who you have in your head and who influence your playing?
What I love is a great word. I'll tell you that. But I just wanted to say that there's a lot of people that I could not admire and respect more. But it's not my happy place of music. When I put on music to be happy for my own personal love and joy, it's sometimes not the same music that I listen to as a musician or as a composer or as a drummer if I want to learn something technical or whatever it is, all the aspects that are separate from, I'm putting on this music because it makes me feel so good and I get goosebumps when I put it on. And I always tell this too if I'm teaching, because students, you can tell me all day long that you don't like this drummer or this band, but they have something remarkable to teach you. And it's not that's gonna harm your musicianship to check it out because it's your business to know. Well, to answer your question, I don't know if you can see this marquee behind me. See who that is? That's Buddy Rich.
Ah, right. You had a formative experience. When you were a kid, right? Seeing Buddy Rich?
I just saw him play when I was 11 at the Forum in Binghamton, New York. And I know I've told this story so many times, but it's true. I got goosebumps. Every hair on my body stood up. I didn't know. I never heard jazz in my life. And I just raced home and I said to my mother, "Oh my God, I heard this music. It's called jazz. I have to be in a big band. I have to play big band. I have to play the drums." I was so crazed by it. And that's all I ever wanted to do since I was 11. So I feel so fortunate. I didn't have to think too hard.
That's so great. Oh, and it was kismet that you got to see him, right?
And then wildly just loved Buddy Rich. I loved growing up in my big influences, all the big bands, because that was my first passion. And my gosh, I got to hear Buddy so many times live, and Woody Herman, and Maynard Ferguson, and Count Basie. I mean, all those bands. I was just every time. And I really, they came through this town I grew up in, and they didn't even play big theater. Sometimes they would be on the road and they'd be looking for a fill-in date. And there was this place called the Endicott Motor Lodge. And I mean, think of a motor lodge, not even a hotel, like a really genuine, what is this place, motor lodge? And they would have all these big bands. So you're this close to the band because it's in a weird teeny little lounge. Unbelievable, amazing experience to see them play.
Wow.
Like that. And then I got really deeply more into well, from slam, certainly got interested in all swing styles of music, and I love the swing era bands too, like Glenn Miller and Tommy Dorsey, and that like swinging, that kind of dance music, man, that's also awesome. And then introduced to some when I was more like in high school, some smaller groups, like of course Miles Davis. His Milestones record is one of my eternal favorites of all time. Philly Joe, I mean, that talk about all-star band. So Philly Joe Jones and Max Roach, and starting to hear players like that, and Elvin, of course, and and then my major influence was the Ray Brown Trio. Okay. I used to think to myself, if I could swing like, coming out of Oscar Peterson too, which was first with Ray Brown, Oscar Peterson, and Ed Thigpen, but then when Jeff Hamilton joined the group, and it was Jeff Hamilton, Gene Harris, and Ray Brown, I saw them. Like I would go every single night when they played at the Blue Note. And when I moved to New York, I lived 2 blocks away. I lived on LaGuardia Place in 3rd Street in the Village, and I would sit there too, and I would say, can I just sit? You know how the Blue Note, like the first seat right by the stage, and your head's like this. You're so close, and I would just say, just let me sit there and just stare at them. That energy, that high, I don't know, it's like the most high-powered, energetic, so grooving, so hard, your leg can't stop. You're like in a trench of swing, and it was just unbelievable to me. I love that trio so much. And then all of Ray's trios after that, and then Jeff Hamilton's trio, I certainly love. And a totally different vibe and style of playing that came, Adam Nussbaum was one of my great influences and teacher, just extraordinary. And Mel Lewis, my first teacher when I moved to New York in 1985.
Mel Lewis? Oh, wow. Okay. I know. So for people who are watching, my husband is a bass player, and Pat worked with Mel Lewis and has amazing things to say about him, and what a joy it was to play with him. So that's incredible that he was your first teacher here in New York.
He was, and we never played. He didn't have drums, or I don't even know if he had sticks in his house. We used to just hang out in his apartment. I would go to the Vanguard all the time for mostly the 3rd set, when they used to do 3 sets, when it was the Mel Lewis Jazz Orchestra. And I did play the 3rd set a couple of times as my drum lesson. You're smiling, but I was terrified.
Oh my God, that is terrifying.
And it was literally my lesson. Mel would he'd go back there, and I'd go, oh, okay. Playing on his drums was challenging for it was, they were calf heads, and they responded a lot different than normal drum heads. And just the music, I knew the music very, very well, because I listened to his records recording so much. But he'd be in the audience, and it wasn't always packed in the 3rd set, but and this only happened a couple of times. This didn't happen frequently, but he'd be in the audience, and he'd go, Sherry, switch to this cymbal, do that, play louder, kick, he'd be screaming stuff. Meanwhile, there's paying customers, and I don't know. I feel like it was. I have PTSD from that. No, it was really great. But I don't know. I think the terror of doing that unexpectedly when I was, I guess I was 21, not a kid or anything, not a kid, but truthfully, and people I knew and I'm friendly with many of the band members now, but when I was walking to the stage, I just remember some of the people in the band going, "Hey, Mel, can my aunt play? My sister wants to sit in." Kind of that vibe that, if I feel like, and I may be wrong, if I was a young man, one of Mel's students, I don't know if they would have razzed them.
I am sure they would not have said those things if you had.
Yeah. So that started out, and I remember Mel said, all the music's up there. And I went back there and there was no music. So Earl Gardner was on trumpet, and he goes, "Here, just look at my music," which was thankfully there was some music up there to look at.
Wow.
Wait 1 second.
Well, I'm going to actually take this moment to say hi, Joyce. Hi, Christy Grace. And just remind you that if you are enjoying these incredible stories, I'm encouraging our audience to share whatever they are able to, so that we can share with the awesome animal shelter tonight. Yes, I've got those links for donation below. My God, that's quite an informative experience, Sherrie. I had no idea. Wow.
Mel had the big beat. His beat was like a giant warm hug. I mean, if you couldn't play with him, then man, I mean, he was just like, everything. It was just, that's all I could, and in a big band to be the powerhouse that he was. And Jeff Hamilton always says, Mel looked like an accountant from the waist up. Like you'd look at him play and it seemed like he was, but the power that he drove the band with, far different kind of power than Buddy Rich. Buddy Rich's power was apparent. Mel Lewis's came from like, he was a ball of like nuclear power or something. And it just came out in waves, but much, much differently than Buddy's. It like emanated from all of him and went through the band, like from the center, instead of Buddy sometimes like played over his band, like, you know, different, but equally powerful.
Wow.
Great. Yeah.
I want to switch a little bit to talking about five play.
Okay.
The quintet you lead. Am I correct in that? It's members of the Diva Jazz Orchestra in five play with you?
Yep.
Great. So it appears that just last year you guys released an album, right?
We did. Yeah. Last year. And we have a few different iterations of the band over the years, depending on when band personnel changes. But yeah, our recent CD is it was from last year.
Great. So, and I did live from the Firehouse stage. And I was sort of doing some sleuthing, and I believe you have two original tunes that you composed on that, you know, different tunes are written by different members of the band, but I wanted to focus on one of your original songs called The Time Being. So we're going to play two different clips. I'm going to ask you about different stuff. We're going to roll the first one so everybody can hear Sherrie Maricle's The Time Being. So I love that song. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
What's the story behind that song?
Well, I like to play fast. So, and I love, I guess if every song was in minor, harmonically minor, I'd be very happy. Not harmonic minor, but minor harmony. Somehow, I don't know. I like minor harmonies. And it just, I don't know. It just, I like to use all of my songs, and even in my big band charts and everything I write is largely driven by rhythm. Sometimes not heavy melodic content. And in The Time Being, a lot of that stuff, that was a revision of something I studied when I was studying at NYU with Jim McNeely, and who was a harmonic genius, you know, so some of that chord movement was inspired by him. And my other great arranging teacher, a man named Tom Boris. But yeah, but heavy play on rhythm. I mean, a lot of things that I've written, it just stems from a rhythmic idea. Like you can start a composition or a song or a tune from anywhere. It could be a lyric, it could be a melody, it could be an interval. And for me, I would say it's 99% rhythm. So I like that simple hemiola. 1, 2, 3, 4. Da, 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 da. Okay.
Sorry, will you?
Sure. It's something you can all do this. Check this out, because everybody can do this. I learned this in elementary school, and this is that hemiola, 2 against 3 or 6 against 4. 2 hands. The lyrics are not difficult. I mean, that is what you say to yourself. 2 hands, 1 hand. Oh, it goes like this. Not difficult, not difficult. Unison, difficult. That's a perfect 2 against 3. Hemiola. Not here, 2 different. Not difficult, not difficult. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, so that's kind of what that is. And I love anything that plays with the rhythm. So of course, and that one's in time, The Time Being is not even that complicated. It's just fun to have rhythmic phrasing cross over the bar line or the measure line.
Love that. And you just made that seem really easy.
Yeah, it is. I learned, I swear, in some general music class in like 4th grade, the teacher was like, look, I don't even know if she was describing it as a hemiola, but she's like, here's a fun rhythm, not difficult, not difficult. And I actually make my college students, we play that on the drums, but I say, count the hand that's playing 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And a lot of times they can't do it at first. They can play the rhythm, but when you start to count, because ideally, as musicians, we sure as heck want to know where beat 1 is, no matter how complicated the hemiola or crossing the bar line or whatever we're doing to be creative, whatever. But hopefully, we know where 1 is.
There's a really nice section of trading phrases in the recording of the time being. We're going to roll that clip, and then we'll talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
Here we go. Fantastic. I know some people are like, oh my God, you're forcing me to listen to myself and all that. I would love for you to talk a little bit about how you approach trading. I had a drummer friend actually who would say, like, if he would call it Mickey Mousing. I don't know if that was his phrase or if that's a thing. Like, when he would teach, encouraging people to not just play back the exact thing that somebody else just played. I don't know. You can feel free to agree or disagree with that. But when you teach, what do you focus on in terms of trading?
Many, many, many things. It's all inspired by the people I'm playing with. In this case, I remember making a conscious. One thing I like to do, and I actually wrote a whole big band chart based on very, very simple rhythmic content. So I can really, if I was analyzing this, my own solo, what I'd say is all I played was quarter note triplets in the first 8. The second 8, all I played was 8th notes. I just orchestrated it in a unique way, I hope. And the second thing I did a 4-bar phrase and I repeated it, stealing a lick. I credit this to Buddy Rich, although every drummer has done this. And Buddy Rich's chart, basically the blues, he played this fill and he went ba 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 boo 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 blah bop and that fill. When I heard that for the first time, it blew my mind. So I play it all the time. Probably too much. I don't care. I love it. And then, but I like the call and response aspect of soloing quite a bit with my trio. I'm so inspired by Jackie Warren, the pianist, and Amy Shook. And Jackie's sense of rhythm is like unlike any other pianist I've heard. She's out of her mind. She plays piano sometimes like a drummer who, a lot of my friends will say drummers hear and conceptualize rhythm different sometimes than horn players or vocalists. But I like the, that's like the game of telephone. You don't have to mimic exactly the same thing. And you can't, because if drums are different than a voice or a horn, so you can't play it exactly. The melody, sometimes I completely just play the melody. That's all I do. And I'm always, I think I know quite a few lyrics, but I want to know all the lyrics to the tunes I'm playing, if there are lyrics. And sometimes, thinking of color and texture only, definitely of dynamics. It depends on the energy of the tune in the moment. And that recording is live. If I could do every recording live, I would. Nothing replaces the energy of sharing music with an audience. Nothing. And so I don't care if there's, some little mistakes, or as we say, some flies in your ointment, or some hair in your fly in your soup, or whatever. I don't care. I mean, my favorite records are live. Yeah. The energy of live, you just irreplaceable. So whenever I have a chance, I'm just like, let's do it live. But I have my students right now. I teach at the University of the Arts in Philadelphia. I mean, I'm not there. I'm done on Zoom. Right. But one of their assignments now is like, we're, not deeply transcribing, but analyzing several drummers. And I'm just like, just write down, I need you to write at least 10 elements of a great solo. When you say to me, I love the solo, I love this drummer, you tell me 10 reasons why this is great. And then when they start soloing, I'll say, okay, play a solo, use number 3 on your list. So we go through, and there's far more than 10 elements, obviously, but that's their assignment. So it's interesting to think about that as kind of an introduction to really digging deep into someone's style or transcribing. But let me tell you, this is a funny story. The few times I got to play with Clark Terry, one day he looked at me on the gig and he looked at me and he goes, let's do the mouth drum. I'm like, I don't know what he's talking about. I have no idea, but let me okay, I can't playing. So he goes like this. He gave the cut where it probably was blues or rhythm changes or something, but he gave the cutoff and he goes, he like sang crazy drum fill and he wanted me to play it back. So I'm like this. I'm like frozen. Like what? I probably went, look. Like I was like, what am I supposed to do? But he treated and he sang the drum fills.
Amazing.
It was amazing. It was crazy. It was crazy, but the mouth drum, it was really nuts. But so drummers will often transcribe other instrumental solos for our own knowledge. I don't think many people horn players or vocalists ever took the time to say, let me transcribe a drum solo and sing it. Some people have. I saw this guy, I don't even know who it is, some guy on YouTube or it was on Facebook, transcribed a Carla Bley solo. Oh, wow. And he played it on the drum set. And then for no apparent reason except incredible funny humor, he had a puppet in the side screen. He had him and Carla Bley and this puppet singing. It was so funny. It was great. I have to find that and I want to share it with my students too. It was very cool. But yeah, so you have to pick a drum solo and transcribe it. And sing it.
I know. Now I feel like I should do that. Because actually when I teach, rhythm is something I think of voice actually both as melody and percussion instrument. Yeah. So that would be a great exercise to actually not just transcribing horn solos or piano solo, to transcribe a drum solo. I'd have to call you. I don't know if I know how to do that though. Even with my students, and I love so many drummers and so many musicians, but Matt Wilson is somebody that comes to mind. Great drummer. He's so creative in the most musical and often unexpected ways coming from a drummer. He's such just the gifted, like amazing. Today I saw on Facebook, he did something about voting. And I think he did it. I think he was doing it somehow I think he gave a nod to Max Roach and he played a lick attributed to him. And it was so simple and so amazing. So the point is a lot of times when I listen to Matt, he takes some small nugget of awesomeness and he just keeps developing it. But it could be like the same nugget, even if it's like, boo-da-doo bop, but then just like for 5 minutes, boo-da-doo dot, but in so many different ways with so many different colors and shadings and dynamics. And it's just, it's wild. Every time I'm watching him, I'm just like when I watch Roy Haynes, I'm like, you can do that? You can do that? You can do that? And I like when that happens because often those ideas, and I don't know if you have this, sometimes I think jazz is so, to me, obviously, and probably, I'm sure you too, the most virtuosic music to revere, and musicians, because of its deep, deep, profound complexity, and the creative, spontaneous creative moments that we all share that are always once in a lifetime experiences, unless they're recorded, of course. But the reverence of that and the depth of the harmony and like all the things that we study, sometimes, let's not forget it, sometimes the simplest ideas done in creative ways are equally expressive to the most complex chord progression or whatever. And repetition, I mean, my friend Amy talks about seeing Sherman Irby with Wynton Marsalis's band, and they were playing like a real nasty, gritty, right in the gutter blues, like one of those kind of, your face is like the whole time. And she said he played 6 choruses with one note. I've heard musicians do that too. And you know what? So then you're in your seat like, is he going to do another one? Oh my God.
And then when he played another note, guess what the audience did? they
They
screamed
went nuts.
but think about that, and think about the mature, just like, I know what I'm doing, man. I'm just gonna burn this rhythm into your soul, and it's just so grooving. It's really, I love that. Like that's simple. And I've heard Jeff Hamilton say in recent years too, to everyone, to drummers, just simplify, you know, which is hard.
It is hard. That's the thing. I think as I get older and continue developing, that I see that it's actually so much harder. And this was something you talked about in one of your Jazz Academy videos of like, I think you'll agree, it's actually easier to just play all the beats, sing all the notes than it is to just boil something down to its essence and play something really simple.
Well, you know, and Adam Nussbaum got me into that when I was in grad school and studied with him. I was all over the place, you know, we were trade 8s or 4s, and I was like, you know, trying to show off because, you know, I guess for lack of a better word, this is what I know, this is what I studied, this is, you know, it was just so like not musical and not interesting. And Adam said, all right, we're going to trade, but all you can play is quarter notes. And, you know, I couldn't do it like for the first several rounds of trading. Like, I cannot play a freaking quarter note, you know, which made me really bugged. But Adam sort of gave me that awareness. And then I took a semester of lessons from great tenor saxophonist Joe Lovano. He used to have his loft on 23rd Street between 6th and 7th or 7th and 8th. I don't remember exactly where, but he had a stage in his living room. And above his stage was a big picture of Elvin. But we would start a tune, and I would be finished in like 6 choruses, and he would play for 45 minutes. We were playing duo, but I was done. And then we started talking about phrasing and how to build a solo and how to build your energy behind a soloist. And, you know, things like, what if you think about, instead of phrasing in jazz, we're always phrasing, like in the beginning of this conversation, 8th note, triplet, 8th notes, that's kind of the center of where jazz rhythms are coming from. What if we phrased off the whole note? What if the tempo is this, but your solo is 1, 2, 3? What's that in your mind? Or, you know, just pick any of the basic subdivisions of the quarter note or whole note in 4/4 and just phrase a solo as an exercise. Phrase a solo off of your quarter of a half note triplet. Completely different idea than if you're phrasing off of a quarter note. So those kind of things, in that you could just be studying that forever. Just rhythm.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was so glad that you brought up Jackie and Amy. So Jackie Warren and Amy Shook.
Yeah.
I'm saying that correctly. Okay. So you are the 3D Jazz Trio. Now, I know you guys have a new album out. You also released one. Yes, there's a picture of the 3 of you.
Yeah.
You released an album last year, right? I Love to See You Smile came out last year.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
2019. I saw that.
I think it came out in March, maybe March of 2020.
Okay.
Yeah. But we recorded it in January
of this year.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Wow. So it's new, and then you have this Christmas CD, which is also new this year, right?
Yeah, brand new.
Yay! Fantastic.
We did it in January because we're like, oh, we really wanted to do a new CD, and we said, oh, we're kind of slow. January is kind of not the busiest month for us. Let's do this, and naturally, like all of us, we had all these gigs lined up to promote it, and they all went. But we love it, and it was really, really, really fun. I love to see you smile.
Yeah, it's a beautiful album. I want to play a clip of you, the 3 of you playing Bésame Mucho. I love this track. Let's hear a little bit of that now.
Thank you. Yeah, Jackie Warren.
Man, yeah, she's incredible. But the whole trio is gorgeous. And when I heard that track for the first time, my initial reaction was like, I just felt like, oh my God, that is so deeply swinging, even though it's in a Latin groove. I got to thinking, like, can I, oh yeah, Tanya Grubbs is watching and she said, smoking. I agree. And hi, Tanya.
Hi, Tanya.
Indy, hi. Sorry. So, someone is watching and I'm really glad they're tuning in. So I just want to say hi to folks. You were going to say, can I say that it's swinging even though it's in a Latin groove, or is it just that it's so deeply in the pocket?
No, that's what I was going to mention, that we were talking about feel and phrasing. See, so depending on if you're counting in 12/8 or cut time or however you want to measure this, this is the pulse here, and what you're hearing is da 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 da. It could be jazz, but it's not. It's a bembe rhythm, sometimes called. They're slightly different bembe Naningo rhythms, but they're all based in 6/8 or 12. Afro 6/8 or Afro 12/8. Again, however you want to count it. But it's still triplet based, but with totally different phrasing. And this is all ties back into what you were talking about. Feel, that's the tempo, but the groove is still all based on eighth note triplets, just like jazz. But the way that we're phrasing them, it's still ooh-da-da, doo-da-da. That's why when Jackie played she was swinging that like she was playing, like she was thinking of in 4/4. But meanwhile, underneath you hear you hear that rhythm. So that's phrasing, articulation. It's still eighth note triplets though. So yeah, that ties back into our earlier conversation. Good pick.
Yay! The Latin rhythms, like that seems like its own vast universe to learn those rhythms, but maybe not, because I guess they're all in some way rooted in Afro rhythms. So I'm like curious about how you go about learning all of this language.
And this really applies so strongly to rhythm section players, especially everybody, but rhythm sections often really identify or solidify what the groove is and what the feel is. So if you looked at musicians and said, play Latin, like in the I can't even say 1950s, because I don't know when it became a serious study to like rhythm sections to know, no, this is the authentic way Afro-Cuban music sounds, and this is the authentic way Brazilian music sounds. This isn't the way that American jazz musicians play this music, which is one thing. And I think jazz musicians, because it's jazz, should be able to interpret those rhythms and will continue to. But if you're writing something, or if you want to groove, it's important to know what it is. So you could look at somebody and say, this is a mambo, or this is a bembe or Afro 12/8, or this is a samba, or this is a Bayonne rhythm, which are Brazilian rhythms. There's a really distinct difference between those. And so again, I mean, Jackie's an expert in Cuban music and spends a lot of time in Cuba. And at first I was like, there is no way I want to play a mambo with Jackie Warren. No freaking way, because I'm American jazz. I'm American jazz mambo person, but she taught me a lot about it. It's an endless study for me. I studied Brazilian music more than Afro-Cuban, but now with all this free time we have, I'm using it to my benefit to really shed a lot of that. But Jackie, again, it's not anyone can learn how to clap a clave or play or the rhythm of the mambo. To learn it on the drums is not complicated. I mean, for if you're a good drummer, it's not complicated, or a songo or any of those grooves, but to make it feel right is the challenge. American people playing samba is way different than Brazilian drummers playing samba. And probably Brazilian drummers playing swing is different than American drummers who grew up with it. So that's the challenge, is the feel of it. Again, we're back to feel, which is so crucial to everything we do. And my wife, I can't remember, probably many people have said this, but when you're reading a piece of music off of a piece of paper, drummers, rhythm section players, especially, that is not the music. That's, as I heard somebody say, that's ink and paper. That is ink and paper. That is not music. The music is coming after you got to have some technique, but right out of here and right out of here, right through your chops. So it's the feel. And that's for me, when you asked about Cuban music, that's the thing that I'm really working on to understand how to make it feel better and more natural in my own technique and chops. But Call
Incredible.
Jackie Warren. She'll kick your butt.
This conversation, I can see that in the comments, people are loving it as much as I am. If you are enjoying this, please, and you are able to share something monetarily. We are accepting donations this evening via Venmo and PayPal. Those links are in the comment section as well. And we want to share with this awesome animal shelter in Pennsylvania. So we thank you. And Todd, thank you. You already sent something in. We so appreciate that. And I see that Todd Foreman said that he just downloaded. I love to see you smile. Yay. I'm so happy when that happens, when like people discover new music here. Thank you, Todd. Thank you. Thank you. All right. You did such a beautiful job of talking about soloing. I'm not going to roll this clip, but I wanted to let you know that you also take a solo on Besame. I mean, you know that, but this solo is so gorgeous. And now I feel like I should write down 10 things that I like about it. It's just a gorgeous solo and it builds so beautifully. It's like a solo that helps me really hear like, oh, this is what phrasing is. This is what like development is. It has an arc. It builds beautifully.
Thank you.
I just love it. But I'm going to jump to, I wanted to just talk a little bit about the Diva Jazz Orchestra, since that's a really big, a big project, a big part of an important thing, you know, that you have as part of your career. Am I correct, Sherrie? Are you a founding member, one of the original members?
Yeah, 28 years. I've been, well, I wasn't the original leader, but I was in the original kind of founding team, but then became the leader relatively quickly. So yeah, June of 1992 is when we had our first audition.
Incredible. So I think this would be a good time to just talk a little bit about Stanley Kaye. We have a picture of him so people can see Stanley Kaye. I was just watching a video you guys had made, maybe for Artist Share, I'm not sure, but it talked about Diva through the years and just the incredible people that have been through the band, the festival, like all the gigs you guys, they're just incredible gigs, incredible people have headlined with you. So if you can just tell us a little bit about how Stanley was so important in the formation of that and in your career.
Well, okay, it was all Stanley's idea. He heard me playing drums with a pickup orchestra, and he was conducting for Maurice Hines. Stanley liked the way I played, and we stayed friends. This was in May of 1990 that I met him at the Schubert Theater in New Haven, Connecticut. And he called me up in 92 and said, "Hey, do you know women that play like you?" now, Stanley Kaye was, manager and friend of Buddy Rich since 1947. Stanley managed Buddy on and off, almost up until when Buddy passed. And Stanley used to be the drummer in Buddy's band when Buddy was singing or dancing, or when the band was playing an act. Stanley was the drummer. Anyway, I was very, very elated that he wanted to do this project, knowing it would be only and seriously about music. And he wanted to do it with women because he said he didn't see any women playing anywhere in any of the bands in New York City, and he wanted to know why. And I said, "Good question, Stanley Kaye, and thank you." And he started the band. So in the initial round was one of the world's great lead trumpet players, Liesl Whitaker. If you don't know Liesl, one of the world's, I'm not kidding, greatest trumpet players, who just retired from the Jazz Ambassadors, U.S. Army Jazz Ambassadors. And Ingrid Jensen, people like Anat Cohen have passed through the band. I mean, just this, it's been a really great experience for so many great musicians. And I'm like probably, when someone joins the band, Liesl is an original in the original band. I think in the original band, Ingrid was in there for a number of years, and not Cohen 10 years. A lot of my great friends who've been in there, and some people are been in the band over 20 years are still in it. But Stanley's vision, musical vision, was he liked things that really very rooted in the tradition of the great bands I mentioned earlier, Buddy Rich, Woody Herman, stuff that swings hard. And by swing, I mean has a groove, beautiful melody. I mean, it can be harmonically sophisticated and, a little out there, but my heart was always with Stanley. It's like, I want to put on a record and I want to be going like that. I don't want to have my head explode trying like, what is happening in this music? Which I do that sometimes for my own education, but and when Stanley passed away 10 years ago, but I said, I'm keeping this going because I love it so much. It literally has been, about half of my life has been with in Diva and part of Diva. And I love the band and I love the musicians, and every voice in the band is, unique and amazing. So I'm very honored to, have the helm.
It's really incredible. And it did get me thinking, like, why is the default for big bands men? Why can't it be all women? Why not?
Well, and then it's always a conversation, but nobody, because traditionally the music had been male dominated, except for, the swing era, and there was the great Sweethearts of Rhythm. And because men were in the World War II. So we had, women, stepped up, and then some women, like always in history, whatever is male dominated as a field of study or, livelihood, women have been doing it all along, all the time. It's just that sometimes you don't get any acknowledgement about it. So I don't know. But it seems like it's moving like the blades of grass, grow very, very slowly. But people are getting used to it.
I found a video of the orchestra playing an arrangement of yours called "The Rhythm Changes." I love this. So I wonder, it's not, I was like debating playing this or not. It looks like, a video somebody took during the performance, but it's great. You guys are all just playing your asses off, and I really love this arrangement. So we're going to play just a little clip of the Diva Orchestra playing Sherrie Maricle's arrangement called "The Rhythm Changes." Here we go.
Oh, that man.
I love this arrangement. And I guess this was to me, I think, and you can say like, nope, you're wrong. Great, like sort of quoting, I got rhythm, but the rhythm is displaced. It's like using that idea of, like you were kind of talking about, how you can play a simple word in all these different ways.
The rhythm is really displaced. I did quote, I got rhythm and fascinating rhythm in the tune, but this is, I wrote this song for the executive producers of our 25th anniversary project recording, Pat Christie and Marcia Gallus, and Marcia's a drummer. And I said, all right, I'm going to write a song for you guys. It's going to be like just rhythm, because Marcia and I are drummers. So this rhythm is the Charleston rhythm. It's 1 and 2 and. Ba, ba. I started it on the beat, then off the beat, then on the beat, then off the beat, and I just moved it through the measure of 4/4, starting once on the beat and once off the beat. And it's a blues, as I think I mentioned that. And then the end, see that I'm repeating myself. It's that same damn rhythm that I had at the end of the time beat. Ba-da, 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 ba-da. Dotted quarter, dotted quarter, dotted quarter, dotted quarter. But yeah, I mean, it's and then the second chorus of that is the same rhythm, but starting on a different beat. And the first one was unison, and the second one was the counter line is the third and seventh of the blues chords, just moving at a different pace. So it's anyway, it's kind of fun. And when you hear that, like the third chorus and some of the stuff in the middle, when I heard it after I wrote it, I was like, oh, it reminded me of a lot of those great Cy Johnson arrangements that he wrote for the Mingus Big Band. Meaning that I'm not comparing myself to Cy Johnson, because he's a genius. But what it was like some simple, really simple content. We're back to simple again. It's very simple, and everything in it, but the way that it's rhythmically altered makes it sound like it's some kind of crazy maniacal. I'm going to use some of the terminology my old teacher Tom Boris used to use, like I don't know. He never said exactly this, but it's like deranged, like clown car circus music. He used to say stuff like like, come on, Sherry, make it sound like Sonny Rollins on roller skates. He would always just say weird stuff that made no sense. But
I love it.
But that was kind of that. I wasn't going for clown car circus crazy, but again, it kind of, when I listened to that, I'm like, what sounds like, yeah, I could hear that as a circus background soundtrack.
The most swinginest circus soundtrack ever. I want to say hi to some people. I see Jim Caruso is watching, saying, oh you two crazy kids. Hi, Jim. And Sean Adam Williams is tuning in, saying hi to us.
Hi, buddy. He's a great supporter. I love him.
Thank you for watching. Thank you so much. I wanted to wrap with something that I don't have a clip for this. There was no way to. But I know that you did a State Department tour with Five Play in 2013. You guys went to Vietnam, and I guess I just wanted to talk about this because since none of us can travel right now, I just found the State Department tours that I've done to be kind of life-changing, really super impactful work. So I was curious to just hear about your experience doing that, and if you had like a favorite moment from that tour.
Oh wow! Well, yes, there's so many. Just being in Vietnam, you know, it's like one of those, when you asked me about Slam Stewart, when I think back on it, I wish I had so much more information than I did when I went. And it wasn't even that long ago we were in Vietnam, but when we got there to a couple of these cities, and people had huge signs with our names on it, like a sporting event. I was like, what? Like, because in the United States, nobody pays attention to jazz. Like, I mean, we were treated like royalty and rock stars. And in 3 of the cities we were in, we were the only American bands to ever play there, ever. And like, we were greeted like dignitaries. And that part of it, like the State Department didn't really give us that information about how kind of deep that was. Yeah. So in hindsight, we were kind of like, you know, standing there like, what's happening here? Like, is this for us? Are you sure? So that, like, an overarching theme. We played some concerts with some big Vietnamese pop stars. That was really fun. Cool. Outside for huge crowds. We played a big sea festival. Amazing. And we played some orphanages. That was transformative in a totally different way. I mean, I remember sitting there talking to some kids, and we had like bucket drums, and I was giving them drumsticks, and a little girl just ran over and jumped straight into my lap, and I just held her for like 45 minutes. And it was like, I know I'm not ready to adopt a baby, but no, I'm not making light of it at all. It was really profound and profoundly sad and amazing at the same time. And one of the real fun things was at one of the orphanages we were playing, they had drums, and we had our electric bass and an amp, but there was no piano. So Tomoko, the pianist, Tomoko Ono, plugged her iPad into the speaker and played her iPad piano.
Amazing.
And the cultural exchange that we did at a few universities, most of the Vietnamese students, they wanted to play Jingle Bells and Happy Birthday. So we played that quite a bit, and we in turn took some Vietnamese folk tunes and turned them into like real swingers. Mm-hmm. So we recorded one too, actually.
Oh wow!
Bayo, yeah, it's online. It's on our CD live at the Deerhead Inn.
Fantastic, great. Yeah.
And when I you know, if you sing that to a Vietnamese person, they're like, oh. But again, like the melody is very, very lovely and lyrical, but when you hear it to a jazz groove, like to a Vietnamese person, it could be totally unrecognizable. Mm-hmm. But if you turn the groove off and sing it, it sounds just like the folk tune. You know what? I just wanted to, if I know this wasn't on the agenda necessarily, but Diva's last record is called Diva and the Boys.
Yes, which I listened to and is fantastic. It's a beautiful recording. So please plug away.
I just wanted to mention on here because the Manchester Craftsmen's Guild in Pittsburgh and our friends Marty Ashby and Renee Govanucci, and Marty's been a fan and friend and supporter. He's a great jazz guitarist and producer and head of the MCG jazz label. He's given us many opportunities, but this one was really special because we got to perform with the great Claudio Roditi and play some of Felici Dage and some of his original tunes, Piccolo Blues, and also Ken Poplowski is on this record. And Marty is, of course, playing his guitar, and his brother Jay Ashby wrote some beautiful arrangements. So I'm especially, just mentioning it because of Claudio and what a great thrill it was to play with him, and which I believe is his last recording. So, yeah, love to Claudio always.
Beautiful. So this was actually a perfect spot to do that because we're gonna wrap up now. So there's Diva and the Boys. People should check that out. And there's the 3D Jazz Trio, your new CD, which is a Christmas CD. It's just in time.
It just came out.
It's time. Somebody actually was saw joking on Facebook about like asking about getting a Christmas tree, and they were like, "Don't tell me it's too early. It's 2020. Anything goes this year." So
this has some fun surprises in it too. You're going to hear the debut of our great bass player Amy Shook playing some fiddle, and not violin. It's fiddle. There's a difference. So
awesome. Tell us what else. Traditional Christmas tunes on there. Some.
Yeah, yep. Our producer of this, a man named John Avini, for a few years, he kept not pestering us, but he's like, "You guys should do a Christmas CD." And Jackie Warren's always like, "I hate Christmas," with this ongoing joke. So finally, we said, "Okay." So in January, when we did "I Love to See You Smile," we stayed an extra day or so in the studio, and we did this one too. And it was fun, really fun, coming up with these arrangements. Once we started, we were like, I think all three of us agreed this is one of the most fun projects we've ever done because
wow. See.
It's really fun, and we it's still humbly, hopefully very swinging for everyone who hears it.
Sure, it is. I have no
very
doubt.
very traditional. You probably can't see it. Winter Wonderland up on the housetop. See number 5. Please, Daddy, don't get drunk. Everyone's got to get the CD just to hear that. Just to hear our version of John Denver's classic.
Done and done. Amazing. Yay. Oh my gosh. So that's so great. We can find that. So I know is that on your website, Sherrie?
Yeah, and it's on, iTunes, Amazon, Bandcamp.
Great.
My website.
Excellent. Okay, fantastic. And also we just want to throw out a couple of other social media handles. You're on Facebook at Diva Jazz, Sherrie Miracle and the Diva Jazz Orchestra. On Instagram at Sherrie Miracle.
And the bands too,
right. 5 Play and 3D Jazz Trio. Am I forgetting?
Diva.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Of course. No, it's beautiful music that I know that people will support, just as Todd downloaded the album mid-show. So I know that people will check this stuff out. And it's always good to like get new Christmas music. If you're a person who likes playing Christmas music, it's always so nice to have like a new something new in the mix. So
my favorite is beyond a doubt Ella's Swingin' Christmas.
Yes.
The first record I put on every single Christmas is that, and I immediately am overwhelmed with joy.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Julia's going to pull you back into the green room. Don't leave just yet. I want to have a proper goodbye with you, but I'm just going to tell the folks who's joining us next week. Thank you so much for this incredible conversation.
Gabrielle, let me just tell you, your show is amazing, and you're amazing, and you're such a killer, great singer. And I can't wait to work with you.
Same. I'm cooking something up for us. We can talk about that in a moment. But thank you so much, Sherrie. So everybody, one more time, Sherrie Miracle.
Bye, everybody. Nice to talk to you.
Thank you. Oh, I knew. She is. Sherrie has her. Oh, we love you, Tanya Grubbs. Thank you so much, Joyce. Thank you guys for tuning in. Sherrie has her doctorate. She is actually a PhD. She's very modest, and she won't tell you that. But I just knew this was going to be like a crazy, informative conversation. So I'm so glad that she joined us. If you are able to contribute anything, we are grateful, and we will share it with the awesome animal shelter. And you can contribute through Venmo at Gabrielle-Stravelli, and on PayPal, paypal.me/Gabrielle Stravelli. So we've gone every other week with these shows, as you may have noticed. 2 weeks from now, November 11th, we're going to be back with Hampton Callaway. Whee! I'm really excited, so excited that she has agreed to join us. And many of you know Anne. She really is a diva in the true sense of the word. and incredible. And she has worked with Sherrie and the Diva Jazz Orchestra. Come to think of it, how fitting. She's an incredible singer, an incredible piano player, composer, and improviser. And so I think it's going to be another really great conversation. So join us for that. Thank you, Jim Caruso and everybody at Birdland for supporting this show. Thanks to Robin Clark, who is our content moderator, and of course, our producer and technical director, Julie Garnier, who is just straight magic and makes everything happen every week. Thank you for joining us. We hope to see you in 2 weeks. Spread the word, you guys. Subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, and share the episode so that people can hear all this amazing stuff that Sherrie had to share with us tonight. Marianne, thank you. Todd, thank you. We will see you all in 2 weeks. Me, you, and Hampton Callaway. Good night.